What's up, YouTube? It is I, Jubilee. But right now, I'm going by Native Soul for many reasons. But I am really excited to make this video because I've been away from YouTube for so long and just social media in general because I've been doing a lot of inner healing, inner work, introspection, self-reflection, all the good things that are supposed to be happening in a lockdown instead of running away or drowning my problems. So anyway, today I'm going to be talking about some event that only happens like every 20 years, but it's a really big deal that it's happening on December 21st, 2020, and it's called the Grand Conjunction, and I'm going to get into that. But before I do, I just wanted to set out a disclaimer right now that whatever image you have of me prior to this video, it is gone, because guess what? I evolve and I'm very open with my evolution, and that is okay. And if you feel like, you can't handle this new me, which really I'm becoming what I came here to be, then you can just unsubscribe. No hard feelings. I still love you. I still care about you. I still think about you. But, people get really stuck on how certain people are supposed to be. And I understand that. But I'm not going to hide away anymore just because people might not vibe with what I'm saying. And that is fine, because if I were not me and I saw this version of me 2 years ago, I would just be like, hey, like, we could be cool, we could be friends, but I don't know how much we can really connect in without me running away. But anyway, if you don't like the heat, get out of the kitchen. But I'm not gonna gut the kitchen out of the home and or just get a whole nother home because you can't handle the heat. You feel me? So let's get started. I made a PowerPoint because, grad school, I just got out of that actually. So here's the PowerPoint. How do I share this screen? There we go. All right, this video is actually going to be set up in two parts, but I'm going to do the first one today. I'm going to be talking about December 21st, and then the next episode, I will come back to this presentation, but we're going to talk about the real story behind Christmas and, Christmas and what it actually is and why it's important to know these things, because it has to do with everything that is really being exposed in the matrix during this time. So let's get started. So the significance of December 21st in general, so not just specifically to 2020, but to just every year, December 21st is the winter solstice. So it is the shortest day of the year, also marking the first day of winter. And the energy on the earth is very different during this time because of the sun is at a certain point in the sky that it's not usually resonating at, and so, or shining, should I say, because that's what the sun does. It shines like we are supposed to shine when we are also at our highest point. But anyway, so with that being said, there have been a lot of cults and, how do I say this, figures that have been deified to represent the sun, so they aren't actually legitimately the sun, sun, but they've made these myths and these stories back in the day to I don't know what that was, back in the day, to really show like what the heck is going on the earth and in the sky. And we're going to get into those principles later, but some of the deities that you've probably heard of, or these figures that have been deified, include these people from Kemet, so Osiris, Horus. Then you have from Babylon, you have Tammuz, Mithra, Sol Invictus, Attis, Dionysus, Hercules, who is basically Jesus, but, or whoever you want to call him. Yeah, but we're going to talk about that in the next video. There we go. The Grand Conjunction that is happening on Monday, December 21st, 2020, is actually what people thought was going to happen on December 21st, 2012. So remember, we are on a whole different calendar than what our ancestors were on. we're on the Gregorian calendar right now because of a pope, right? It's funny how they can just say the word and then the whole world bows down. It's really insane. Rome is crazy. Anyway, the point is, when people thought that the world was going to end 8 years ago, because remember, our calendar is 7 years and 6 months off from the Mayan calendar and the other calendars of indigenous people. They thought the world was going to end and all this stuff was going to happen. And Christians especially thought that JC was going to return, and I don't know why they sold their stuff, like they can use their money beyond this realm, but whatever, that's them. And oh, by the way, I'm not here to judge or critique like that anymore. Like, people just gonna believe whatever they want to believe, and that's not my place. But I'm gonna show y'all and tell y'all what I'm learning, and you take it with a grain of salt. But I know I made that clear before. So with this year, what's gonna happen on Monday is, first of all, we have to know and understand what astronomy is and the difference between that and astrology. So astronomy, in essence, is any study that happens beyond the Earth's atmosphere, right? And with astronomy, what's going to happen on Monday is Jupiter and Saturn, these two planets, are going to be within 0.1 degree of one another. This has not happened in almost 400 years. So since 1623. And then the next time it's kind of close, even though this event happens every 20 years, but not as closely. They don't meet as closely as they are this Monday that's coming up. But the next time they're going to be buddy-buddy like this is going to be 2080. And then the closest beyond that is going to be 2155 or something like that, when we aren't here, in these bodies, actually. But anyway, so that's the grand conjunction. And astrologically, astrology is the study or the belief that the interactions of the stars and the planets are going to be affecting us, which makes sense, right? The sun affects us in our circadian rhythm when it decides, when our body clock registers to get up and to eat meals and to take naps and ultimately go to sleep. And then the moon controls our emotions, because the moon controls the tidal waves, right, of the ocean. And the element of our emotions is a water element. And so we are made out of a lot of water, right? So we are literally controlled by the magnetic frequencies of the moon with our emotions. So that's why during full moons, like, a lot of people, especially women or people who have more feminine energy than masculine energy, their emotions get really heightened and fuller on a full moon. And it's really time to throw out the old, right? To conjure up all these emotions and get rid of the old and purge. And then you have the new moon that happens, and a lot of different religions and civilizations have studied and really kept the new moon as something that they celebrate. But that's the time where to bring in new habits, to bring in new thinking. And it's just a really beautiful cycle that happens, that unfortunately a lot of people who read the Bible or who grew up in a certain way are really discouraged to studying what is happening right above us. And it absolutely makes zero sense as to why we would ignore something so real that we can see, and how it affects us here on Earth. But that's all part of the matrix. The whole, I'm gonna get into that. Let me not get ahead of myself. So yes, astrology says Jupiter and Saturn are representative of what is happening here. And it is important to know the characteristics of these, or the representations, I guess, of these two planets. So Saturn is all about restriction and limitation and confinement and institutions and rules and responsibilities, blah, 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 all the things that I'm not so fond of, because I'm a Sagittarius. I like to be free. And that's a good segue to talk about Jupiter, because Jupiter actually is the planet that controls the people who are born at the end of November and a couple weeks in December, so Sagittarius. And they're all about, the Jupiter planet is all about the expansion of life in our inner beings and the growth and the exploration of new ideas, freedom and healing, higher learning, higher education, and really zoning in on what is law, like, of the earth, and what is religion, and why do we have these things. Very existential thinking. And all that to say is, it's so important to know what these two planets represent, because they're going to be in conjunction with one another, right? And it's going to have an effect on humankind. And it already is. It already is. This whole year has been a time where you see uh, these two different ideas, right? These two different stances of the Saturn people that want to keep all these traditions versus the Jupiter people who are questioning a lot of things, which is in a different slide. But it's really important to know these principles that go along with everything, really. Don't get overwhelmed by this slide, but I'm going to break it down to you all, okay? I don't know if you all have heard of this saying of as above, so below. And something that I've been rereading the Bible and noticing is that the Bible, unfortunately, this is what I found, is not something that should be taken literally, because the direct archaeological evidence is not there for all these great people that we look up to and that people pray to. They exist within the literature, and the literature itself has a lot of discrepancies, and the historical accounts are very off when it comes to direct archaeological evidence. Now, oh, I found this piece of cloth and it belonged to Moses, or oh, I found like this hair strand from white Jesus or whatever. Like, no, fam, like, you have to really read and deeply look into the validity of this text that people are so divided on, and that fight people over, and people are literally killing one another over the translation and the interpretation of this text that isn't even 100% accurate. However, despite its historical and archaeological flaws, there are 100% truths of the universe in the Bible, just like every other religious text. And I'm going to get into that in a different video, because I know that, some people are like, what? Like, y'all probably tweaking right now that I'm saying this, but I've been reading a lot of books. I've been doing my research, and I'm here. This is where I am, and I'm okay with that. So, as above, so below, we see that JC says this in Matthew 6:10 when he says on earth as it is in heaven. It's literally the same thing. So people found the emerald tablets, which is the Hermetic text. And this saying that I'm about to read to you, this quotation, is from Arabic translated into Greek, translated into English. And it reads, that which is below is as that which is above, and that which is above is as that which is below, right? On earth as it is in heaven, to perform the miracles of the one thing. So that is something that is so important to know, because once you understand that everything that you see is a reflection of what is happening in a different realm, and you really see the nuances and the synchronicities of what is going on, you notice that there's no coincidences, that everything is connected, and that we have this planet that we live in this universe that we dwell in, that really has these reliable principles and laws that just don't fail. Like, it's just facts. You feel me? Like, for instance, when you look at a tree, you see how the tree is above ground, right? And as the tree grows up, the amount of the height, and as much it grows upwardly above the ground, so as it does its roots going into the ground below. And if this weren't the case, if this weren't the case, you could literally see trees just topple over like that, because they aren't grounded, they aren't rooted into the earth's core, right? And that's why it's so important to know this principle, because it relates to whatever's happening in the heavens, even with these planets, is going to affect all of the earth, the humans and the animals, everything. It's going to affect us, because as above, so below. And another thing that I want to talk about is the law of polarity, which basically says that the source of all things is both good and evil, or light and darkness. They're one, because there's no disconnection. And that's what people are going to start to see. There's no disconnection of anything. And for instance, an example of this is in the Bible. You have in the Old Testament, I have to cough, but I don't have COVID. Woo! Where's that water? 1 second. I'm all spilling water. At least it's good. It's refreshing. Okay. In the OT, Isaiah 14:12 says, "How you have fallen from heaven, morning star." And you could see this as Lucifer, because that's what it means in Hebrew. Morning star means Lucifer, or light bearer in Hebrew. Son of the dawn, you might see O day star. Those different variations depending on what version you read, right? But it says, "How you have fallen from heaven, morning star," or Lucifer, son of the dawn, you have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. Right? And so you can see on the left Baphomet, that the Lucifer whatever thing. And you can also look at the hand signals and how it's that thing that it's doing, which I'm not going to do it exactly. It's not demonic. It's just showing. It says that as above, so below. That's what it's doing. And you can see also many paintings of JC and mirrors of JC. You see him doing the same hand signal, right? But even despite what you see, or excuse me, in addition to what you see in the art, right, of this similarity depicted of this principle, this Hermetic principle of as above, so below, you also see it in the Bible where Lucifer said he's called the morning star. That's what Lucifer means, literally, in Hebrew, the light bearer, morning star. And then in Revelation, the last chapter of Revelation chapter 22, says, "I, JC, I, Jesus, have sent my angel to testify to you about these things for the churches. I am the root and the descendant of David, the bright morning star." What? Did this ninja just call himself Lucifer? Yes, because they're the same. They are light and darkness. That's what the Bible's saying, that light and darkness are the same source. Even if you believe in the Most High, for those who are Israelites or Christianites, you can tell the different characteristics of how, like, the Most High is this loving, protective father, life bringer, but then he's also a destroyer that destroys nations, that tells people not to kill, but then he kills innocent children and mothers. And it's just very interesting to think about how lightness and darkness, these themes in the Bible, people might think that it's contradictory, but they're all the same. Jesus and Lucifer, the light bearer, it's the same thing, right? Jesus is the light of the world, right? And Lucifer literally means light bearer. Lucifer was cast down from the heavens to the earth as because he tried to take the Most High's place. And then you have Jesus, he comes down to earth in the New Testament, and he literally takes the Most High's place by implementing these new ideas and these new laws. And, just for that whole argument that I just made, please go back, look at my past videos when I was in the Hebrew Israelite movement. Even though I'm not there now, I'm very grateful that I have that background, because it really allowed me to deconstruct these contradictions in the Bible that are actually nuances, because we look past the literalism of the text and you see so clearly of what these principles are saying, that are not just in the Bible, but have been said way before the Bible, because the Bible's not that old. People think it's okay. Moving on. So going based on the law of polarity, as well as the Hermetic principle of as above, so below, there's this idea of microcosm, and macrocosm, which in essence says and expresses that whatever is happening in these smaller systems, particularly the human body, are just miniature versions of the larger universe. So by understanding these smaller systems, you can then understand the larger and vice versa. With that being said, this grand conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter is happening in Aquarius. Aquarius is all about progression and being independent, and this connection with all humanity, the humanitarianism. There you go. So with all that in mind, knowing the whole, I don't even want to say duality, but the expressions of these different planets, of Saturn, remember, being very confined, focused on confinement and being constricted, and all these rules and systems, you're going to even start seeing, well, we have started seeing already, this divide of the human race being more on this side of Saturn, of thinking about being tied to tradition and systems and limits and discipline and order and religion and all these things of the matrix, right? Which is honestly coming from a 3D based consciousness, which is all about looking at the fear that is on the earth and the division of how we are all separated, because and politics has to do with this. A particular party likes to divide with the human race within classes, and really looking at race, like, oh, you're black, you're white, you're rich, you're poor, you're you live here, you live there, and then we'll give you some programs that are handouts that can cripple a community, but then you lose sight of the unity and the connection that we all have as a human race, whether you want to believe one race is superior or not based on your religious views or however you see the world. That's you. But the truth is, our DNA is 99.9% the same across the board. We are more similar than we are different. Yes, we should definitely express our differences and accept those, but at the end of the day, we are human, well, spirit, excuse me, having a human experience. And these bodies are more similar than you think. Then on the other hand, you have Jupiter. Jupiter is all about questioning ideologies. That's why so many people are questioning their faith right now. I just thought it was me when this started to happen 4 years ago. But no, there is a shift that is taking place right now on the earth, and the earth is raising its vibration, its frequency, and a lot of people aren't going to be able to withstand the frequency that is on this earth. And it's kind of like when the New Testament talks about like the rapture, like the sons of God ascending, the children of God ascending, and it's all talking about your consciousness that it's going to be ascending and lifting up, while the people here who are going to be stuck in the fear-based consciousness, oh, COVID, like that's why all this is happening right now. It is a pandemic. Whether you want to accept that or not, that is the truth. And I'm not saying that the virus isn't real. Yeah, it's affecting people, but you have to know that there's so many different stunts that they've been pulling this year, and it's to keep everybody vibrating at a lower frequency, because when the earth's frequency increases, people will not be able to survive. That's just how it is. A lot of people are dying this year, just how I had said that it would in a video that I made at the beginning of the year, that a lot of people were going to pass away. And this 3D consciousness of focusing on, people saying mask or no mask, vaccine or no vaccine, and the vaccine, we could talk about that at a different time. But the point is, when the Bible talks about that, there is a new kingdom, a new heaven, a new earth that's going to be literally coming here, right? Heaven's supposed to come down here. It is not literal. It's all talking about what is happening metaphysically, what is happening esoterically, that heaven, this idea of love and peace, unity, everybody being united again, because according to history with Pangea, we were all connected continentally, right? We were all physically connected. And even the Bible goes on this idea in the Old Testament in Genesis about, before the Tower of Babel was built, everybody was speaking one language, one tongue. And so now you look at the lessons of the Bible, and you see that, this kingdom is supposed to be coming down, where the fruits of the spirit of love and peace and joy and all these high vibrational feelings, basically those are all high frequencies. That's what we're moving into with this grand conjunction. So December 21st is marking that official shift. It's already been happening. The earth has been sending out like contractions, right, of like, hey, there's change coming. Hey, there's change. And that's why 2020 is such a pivotal and memorial year of all the shite that has been hidden and suppressed for centuries. All the oppression, all of the things that people have been pushing down are now being conjured up to the surface for people to deal with. And again, it's happening on a larger scale, right? On a universal scale, but it's also happening within people. That's why it's important to do shadow work. Shadow work does not mean, oh, it's bad. Your shadow is anything that you have suppressed, anything that you have felt that you needed to hide, because maybe it was something that happened in your childhood that you felt like you needed to hide, that it wasn't accepted, and you were afraid to be rejected. So you put that part aside. But it's still you. It's still there. Nothing disappears. Nothing ever disappears. Nothing dies, because everything is energy. Energy does not die, right? It just transforms and reforms and recycles. And so with all that being said, with 2020 being such a year where things are coming up to the surface, guess what? That's happening to people individually. It's happening to me. And people are now having the chance to move towards this greater consciousness of this awakening that is happening, to really zone in and focus on the divinity that we are, the divinity that we have inside of us, which is another lesson that's in the Bible, right? We are able to do miracles. We are able to make things happen, but it starts here, right? And if the elites can control this, they control the body, because whatever happens above, right, in this dome, this heaven, this dome of ours, our head, our brain, our minds, they control what happens below. They control our bodies. And it is just really important right now, guys and ladies, to clear out and deal with all of the crap that you have been hiding away, because this is not the time to play games. A lot of people are going to feel very uncomfortable, especially during next year. The vibration is going to kick up a ton of notches, because December 21st, with this grand conjunction of having Saturn and Jupiter, these two planets that are really going to be playing on our emotions, it's going to be really important for us to pick a side. Are you going to be stuck in this 3D fear-based consciousness of division and suffering and panic during this pandemic? Or are you going to transcend that, and you're going to really do that inner work and just let things out, cry, but also realize that we are love, we aren't fear. And again, that's why the Bible talks about how love and fear cannot coexist. There is no fear in perfect love, and that is true. Fear is three-dimensional consciousness, and love and unity and connection is that 5D. And that's what the grand conjunction starting December 21st is going to bring in. It's not going to be this like snap of a finger thing. People who are already like meditating and being connected and tapped in, or whatever you want to say, they're going to feel that. They're going to go along with it. And a lot of people aren't going to want to change, but this change is kind of being forced upon us. And I just wanted to come on here and talk about that. It's very fascinating. And I love you all. I am wishing you well. I'm sending you so much peace. Do not be afraid. Do not fret. Everything is going to be fine as long as you stay connected, tapped in, clean out your vessel, clean out your spirit, and really just start studying. Start reading, because I know I started reading this, Fifth Dimensional Consciousness. It's a really good book. It talks about what we are headed towards. And this book talks about the fear-based consciousness, so more of like the 3D stuff that's happening, COVID, the politics of fear and the power of science. And that's how they're trying to control us, but we're not going to have it. And that's that. I love you all. I'll catch you later. This is Native Soul, and make sure you subscribe and you do your own studies. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. How do you stop this? There we go. I love Zoom. Just kidding.